I think it is inevitable that we see a recession in 2024. So yesterday, big move in the markets. The Nasdaq was up 1%. The S&P was up more than 1%. And it's all because of Jerome Powell basically saying that they're not going to raise rates anymore. Not only are they not going to raise rates, but they could potentially look to be lowering rates in the coming months. And that was enough for everybody to be like, finally, they've pivoted. We've got room to run in the markets. So it was a big moment yesterday. Yeah, so interest rates. There's lots of different interest rates based on the time, right? You're going to have a certain interest rate for your mortgage, which is 30 years. If you're a small business owner and you get a loan from the bank, that's a 10-year loan, and that's going to have a different rate. All of these rates are dependent upon the Fed funds rate. It's like the base, the lowest rate. And then the banks add additional points on top of that so that they can make money when they loan out to you. Right now, the Fed funds rate is around 4.5%. That's why interest rates for your mortgage are going to be around 7.5%. Back in COVID, they were down to, Fed funds rate was down, I think, lower than 2%. And that's why people were able to get really low mortgage rates. So they raised those interest rates faster than any other point in history, which is really putting a crunch on the economy as a whole because money is just more expensive. So it's a really important part of the whole economy. So why would they raise interest rates? It's all about this balance of inflation and being able to keep the economy going. The Federal Reserve has two tools in its tool belt. They can either adjust interest rates or they can print money. And with COVID happening and the economy basically shut down, they lowered interest rates and they printed trillions of dollars. Fast forward a year and a half, then they saw inflation was running rampant and everything was more expensive. So then they had to raise rates to try to get that under control. And many people think that they raised rates too aggressively. What people should expect out of the crypto markets specifically is we're in this time frame with the Fed not raising rates or lowering rates, is that the market should run. If you look at the Nasdaq and the S&P, they're both almost at all-time highs. And once they get to all-time highs, we expect those to run. And Bitcoin typically moves in the same direction, but harder than both the S&P and the Nasdaq. So if those two are going to run up, I expect the crypto markets to do the same, but even more so. My biggest concern with the markets, and I think this is what everybody's concern has been since late 2021, all of 2022, is that we're going to go into a recession, right? Like employment is increasing, people can't afford car payments, you're seeing credit card debt escalate. There's all of these fundamentals to the economy that are showing that we are going towards a recession. And so it's like we're playing with fire as to how high the market is going to go before that eventually happens. What's interesting is that the Fed is being like, well, we're trying to make it so there's a soft landing where we're not going into a recession. And so that's the big question, soft landing or a recession. This is not financial advice, but I think it is inevitable that we see a recession in 2024. And the main reason is because the Fed raised interest rates faster than in any other time in history. We haven't seen the full effects of that. And so what I think happens is the market runs over the next, could be 3 to 6 months, gets everybody convinced that we're in this soft landing, that the next bull run is here, that the market's just going to keep going up and it's going to then change on a dime and people are going to get caught flat-footed. Right now, everybody was expecting a recession. And so people were on the sidelines. The market went up. Now they're seeing that they were wrong. They're going to pile in. It's going to cause the market to keep going higher just in time for the recession to finally kick in. The market is brutal. It makes as many people wrong as possible. So the difference between the traditional markets and crypto markets is they're going to move in the same direction, but just like the Nasdaq, which is technology, moves higher and faster than the S&P, crypto is going to move faster than both the Nasdaq and the S&P. So I'm expecting potentially a 20 to 30% move in the traditional markets, which means in crypto markets, they can move 50 to 100%. Now, add that we're having the ETF approval is estimated to happen in January. There's just so many factors that will lead to a significant run. So my prediction for the high of Bitcoin over the next 52 weeks is 84,000. For Ethereum, I'm going to say it's 5,500. What's interesting is to see the predictions around like what's the high going to be. Most people are predicting 48K because they compare it to 2019. And when you look at 2019, the mid-cycle high was around 12,000 compared to the previous high, which was 18,000. So people are like, the next high has got to be lower than the previous high. So, and you look at kind of where the resistance level is, and it's 48K. I think people are going to get caught off guard. It's going to go to higher highs. And then once it gets up to 80, everybody's going to think that's going to go to 100. And that's when it's going to start going back the other way. If you're looking outside of Bitcoin and Ethereum for investments in the crypto markets, what we're seeing is that the new tokens are the ones that are running the most. Solana is very strong. Then there's other tokens like TIA, TIA, and INJ. Those two are relatively new. It seems like the old guard, like Litecoin and Dogecoin and Compound and Curve, they're just not getting the same attention as the other ones. So for me personally, I have a lot of those older coins, and I'm in the process of trying to deliberate of like, do I sell and take the tax repercussions of selling? And my strategy, what I think I'm going to do is to sell half of my altcoins and put that into Solana because I don't have enough Solana.